Putin has successfully regained control of Russia's captured territory. Following a series of counterattacks by Russia, Ukraine has lost over 40% of the Kursk region, and even worse, Russia has advanced further into Ukraine, with reports indicating that Moscow now controls about 1/5 of the country's territory.
Now in Kursk, during the past day, Ukraine lost more than 330 troops and 27 armored vehicles. Is Kiev losing more on its home turf than it could gain inside Russia as Russian troops continue to advance inside Ukraine and pound Ukrainian troops in Kursk?
So just how did Kiev's military lose the territory it conquered in the Kursk region? And how will this affect future peace negotiations with Russia? A senior source within Ukraine's general staff just informed Reuters that Ukrainian forces have lost over 40% of the land captured in Russia's Kursk region. According to Reuters, Ukrainian forces initially controlled about 1,376 square kilometers or 531 square miles at the peak of the invasion. But ever since, Russia has launched several counter-assaults, so the territory is now smaller. A Reuters source explained that Ukraine now controls only 800 square kilometers of Kursk. Despite the losses, Ukraine intends to hold the territory of the Kursk region that remains under its control for as long as it is justified from a military point of view, the source added. Ukraine's invasion of Kursk back in August 2024 was certainly a bold move. It marked the first foreign ground invasion of Russian territory since World War II.
As Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is acknowledging for the first time that his forces have pushed into Russia's southern Kursk region.
Ukrainian forces launched a surprise attack on Moscow's troops, catching their defenses off guard. The attack was meant to disrupt Russia's supply lines and gain leverage in future peace talks. However, this ambitious operation has faced significant challenges over the last months. In October, Russia reportedly brought in 11,000 North Korean troops to support its forces in the Kursk region. Moscow also received shipments of about 6,700 containers carrying millions of ammunition from North Korea. Russia has also deployed a massive 59,000 troops into Kursk for counterattack against the Ukraine's troops, according to Reuters' source. But beyond Kursk, Russia's forces are steadily progressing in Ukraine's regions. Ukraine's military has stated that Russian troops are advancing at a rate of 200 to 300 meters per day in the Kurakhove area. And to top it off, Kiev estimates that around 575,000 Russian troops are currently engaged in this war. And Moscow intends to increase these forces to 690,000 troops. This, however, contrasts an earlier claim made by Russia's President Vladimir Putin, who stated in June that nearly 700,000 troops were already involved in the special military operation in Ukraine. Despite the size of Russia's attack force, Kiev recently gained a significant authorization that led to a significant escalation. President Joe Biden gave Ukraine permission to strike targets deep within Russia's territory with American-supplied missiles.
The US President Joe Biden has authorized Ukraine to use American long-range missiles to strike targets deep inside Russia.
Until now, Mr. Biden has been reluctant to give permission because of concerns about the conflict escalating.
And Ukraine's military wasted no time. That very day, they launched America's ATACMS and British Storm Shadow cruise missiles to hit key Russian military facilities. One notable target was an arms depot located 110 kilometers inside Russia. This attack was successful, making it the first time Ukraine had launched missiles that deep into Russia's territory. However, it also angered Moscow and led to a full-out retaliation from the Russian government. Only 2 days after Ukraine's strike, Russia allegedly launched an intercontinental ballistic missile aimed at the Ukrainian city of Dnipro.
This video, posted by Ukrainian military bloggers, purports to show multiple projectiles landing on the Ukrainian city of Dnipro just before dawn. That's what you'd expect from a ballistic missile, the release of many payloads as it approaches its target. And this evening, Vladimir Putin said that Russia had hit the city with a new medium-range ballistic missile, after Kyiv used Western-supplied weapons to strike inside Russia.
In response to the use of American and British long-range weapons.
According to Ukraine's Air Force, the attack targeted enterprises and critical infrastructures in the city. But beyond that, the strike was a clear message and warning to NATO and Ukraine's Western allies about the consequences of supplying Ukraine missiles to bomb Russia.
It was fired at Ukraine today, and it was not just a weapons test, rather a blaring signal to the West and to Ukraine that while this one was not strapped with nuclear warheads, the next one, well, could be.
However, NATO spokesperson Farah Dakala stated that Russia deploying these missiles will neither change the course of the conflict nor deter NATO allies from supporting Ukraine. And in response to the escalating aerial threat, Ukraine's military is reportedly implementing measures to improve its air defenses. Ukraine has prioritized securing its capital alongside the cities of Sumy and Kharkov, both of which are near active front lines. Ukrainian officials are also engaged in discussions with the United States and the UK to acquire more advanced air defense systems capable of countering the growing missile threat posed by Russia. But Ukraine is facing much bigger problems than aerial attacks. The recent statistics showing how much of their territory Russia has conquered is alarming to say the least. Besides losing 40% of the territory it conquered in Kursk, recent reports now suggest that Ukraine has lost roughly 1/5 of its territory to Russia. This includes significant portions of the Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson regions. President Putin has made it clear that he seeks to solidify these territorial gains and has demanded that Ukraine abandon its aspirations of joining NATO. Kiev has rejected these terms, viewing them more or less as surrendering. However, with Trump back in the White House, many wonder how long Ukraine can sustain the war without the support of the United States.
I think Zelensky is maybe the greatest salesman of any politician that's ever lived. Every time he comes to our country, he walks away with $60 billion.
Trump has made it clear that under his administration, Ukraine will receive little to no funding for the war. He has also stated that his plans to end the conflict may include offering Ukrainian land to Putin in exchange for a peace deal. Speaking of deals, analysts suggest that the reason Putin has been heavily focused on regaining lost territories in Kursk is to avoid Ukraine having any leverage during negotiations. But while Kiev is doing all it can to retain control of what it has left of Russia's Kursk territory, Putin is launching different forms of attacks on Ukraine. So check out this deep dive where I'll show you how Russian dummy drones hit Ukraine